There is nothing that says pro skier like a massive Cork 3.
In this episode, I'm going to start the progression of learning one of the most coveted tricks in freeride skiing, the Cork 3. Prerequisites for learning the Cork 3 on the trampoline are 360, backflip, backflip grabs, and Cork 720s. It's important to note that I have not yet landed a Cork 3 skiing. I've heard that Cork 3 from a trampoline doesn't translate well to skiing. However, the season's over, I'm looking to get reps and build my air awareness and my spinning skills. What kind of trampoline do you need to have to learn how to Cork 3? I think any trampoline will do for this trick. You don't need to get a lot of height, and I actually think that height while learning this trick might be a little disadvantage. So don't worry about it if you just have a standard garden trampoline. I recommend warming up your neck. Before you attempt this trick, I would expect that you'll land on your side, on your back, which on the trampoline can give you a little bit of whiplash or stress in your neck muscles. All right, so day one, I was at Woodward Park City. Really my first day trampoline training as well for skiing. I kind of ticked off all the things that I had already known how to do before going to Woodward. And in the back of my mind, the trick that I really wanted to do was the Cork 3. So I started attempting to Cork 3 and it went horribly. I just felt like I was flailing. I had no idea how to target the axis. I would land on my side. I would land on my back. Sometimes I would do a cork to my back. I had no control whatsoever and it just felt basically impossible. Day one was terrible. I probably put in 25 attempts and landed on my side, probably half of them, and it was pretty depressing. I thought it was going to be a trick I was going to learn in one session. Day two went somewhat similar, although I prepared a little bit more. So the next week I came back to Woodward Park City. I'd watched a bunch of tutorials, which I'll share with you in the description. There was a really good one from Bruce Oldham. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, where Patrick Lindsay explains how to do a Cork 3. There's another really good tutorial from Ski Addiction as well. There's another really good tutorial from Theron Gustafson, and this was ultimately the tutorial that I felt like was the most useful. He throws it with the traditional cork set, and I think this is the most stylish one. So I came a little bit more prepared. So it still didn't go very well. This day I came and I wanted to learn a Cork 720. So once I had learned that on the correct axis, I started attempting the Cork 3. Again, probably put 25 to 40 attempts in. This time was a little bit more promising. I kind of started on the 360 axis, which there's two different tutorials, I would say, of how to do it. One is to start on a 360 axis, and the other is to start on more of a backflip axis or a Cork 7 axis, true Cork axis. So I started on the 360 because that seemed like the least scary thing to do. And I kind of got into this orbital axis thing that I was landing on my feet, but I felt very off balance, and it looked kind of Cork 3-ish, but I didn't feel like it kind of checked that box. Skunked again. I had two sessions into the Cork 3 and felt pretty depressed, thinking that it was going to be like, it looks like such a simple trick, but it's very difficult. All right, came back for day 3, and this one was a long day. So this day I was committed 100% to my hour-and-a-half session of learning how to Cork 3. And I put the full hour and a half into it. I probably tried 75 to 100 attempts. Did a lot of orbital ones. Did some where I was throwing on the Cork 7 axis, but it would always end up being like a Cork 540 to my back. Nothing was going well. And I was just confused and kind of thinking that I may not ever land this trick, and maybe I should just go on to other tricks that seem more difficult. A lot of the tutorials kind of say, okay, start off with this, and then kind of push it and push it and push it until you get to the cork you want. And so I had taken that strategy with the 360, but I really wasn't comfortable once it got to the more cork or back set that was a little uncomfortable for me. So, which is one reason why I say backflips are a prerequisite for a Cork 3. Because if you can't do a backflip, you're going to be scared to rotate to set back. And although maybe you don't need to set it back depending on how you're doing a Cork 3, if you're not scared to set it back, then you can kind of push the limits to each direction until you kind of find the axis that you want. Anyway, so I switched my strategy mid-session from the 360 axis to the backflip axis. So I started doing backflip safeties, and then I probably did 10 backflip safeties, and then I slowly tried to cork my backflip from there. And to be honest, I didn't think it was working at all. And I left the session thinking that I hadn't gotten any closer. Then I got home, reviewed the footage, which I always recommend filming your sessions so you can see what you're doing wrong and kind of make adjustments. And just because it's rad. But yeah, I reviewed the session looking to see kind of what I was doing wrong, and etc. And I landed a perfect Cork 3. And I was like, what? How did I not know that? The crazy part was I landed it, and then I continued to do another 20 attempts and was not successful. So it's very touchy trick where the axis is very touchy, at least if you set it the cork, the true cork set. But yeah, super psyched, but I was also even more confused because I thought, well, yeah, once you land it, then you'll have it on dial. It's just you remember that, your muscles remember it, etc. But that has not been the case for the Cork 3. That has not been the case for me. So then I bought a trampoline, and I probably put in another 100 tries, and I feel like now I have it pretty dialed. However, the last session I went to Woodward again, I started doing a few Cork 3s, and I was probably every 1 out of 3 I could do. So it's still pretty touchy. I do feel like I have it now. I don't have the 360 version where you set 360 and cork with your upper body and your knee. I would still like to try that one, so I'll probably continue kind of playing around with it. But yeah, I landed it on the trampoline, and I think the next step now is to take it to the ramp with the rollerblades. So next session at Woodward, I'll rent some rollerblades and start trying that out.